Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.
All right, we here?
Yeah, we are here. Good evening, Senlo, and welcome to another edition of URBANCAST Let's Talk, and back-to-back shows on one night. I'm your host, Jack. Tonight's conversation, this second conversation, sits at the intersection of politics, policing, and civic engagement. You know, everything we do over here at URBANCAST is about getting people out there to go vote and encouraging people to exercise their rights and different things of that nature. And I want to be clear from the start, politics isn't just about elections or city hall votes. Politics shows up in how safe you feel in your neighborhood, how officers interact with residents, how departments are staffed, and whether the community trusts the people sworn to protect them. Civic engagement means more than voting every few years. It means it means paying attention, asking questions, demanding accountability, and staying involved even when the conversation gets uncomfortable. And tonight we're probably going to try to have a little uncomfortable conversation, but we got to have these conversations in order to move forward. So as we get started, I want to encourage everyone watching to share this broadcast, jump into the comments, ask questions, engage with us live. These are discussions that matter, and your voice matters. Tonight, I'm joined with former APD officer David Fosher, a retired Alexandria police retired officer, to talk candidly about civility, community policing, department morale, staffing shortages, and how we are identifying those most dangerous folk out there that's impacting the community. With that said, let's go ahead and get started. David, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you're feeling over there in retirement and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh man, I'm doing great in retirement, man. I'm starting me a little bee business now and stuff, keeping bees and making honey. On the other end though, I worked at APD starting in 2000 to 2025. I retired in October the 7th. I was hired under the Sicardo administration, under Mayor Randolph administration. And so there's a stark contrast between that administration and then when Roy took over, I guess is what I'm leading into. But during my time in the career at APD, I was in detectives, violent crime detectives, crime, which they call it crimes against persons. I also worked on the FBI task force. I also worked in narcotics, and I also worked in community policing for about 2 years. And then regular patrol the rest of the time. And I retired as a supervising line sergeant from the road.
All right. So you got a good taste of the department as a whole.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
I've been in just about every division it had, except admin.
Except for admin. Okay. You when you talk about civility and policing, what does that look like in real life, both from the officers and the public's perspective?
It's all about respecting each other. I mean, some officers may get out of a car and jump off and take it too fast, too hard, but you just need to learn to come in calm at first, because you can always escalate a situation. It's very hard to de-escalate. So, and that's how we're all taught. And all those officers at APD are pretty good at that, and I got plenty of them, I know, that are great officers working there. And I want to say that too, Jack, that the officers that are there deserve all the support they can get from the community. The people like Shakola, the people like Jay Scott and everything, and just give them all the support you can, because they're the men and women. They're fighting the battle between trying to serve the public and keep Roy off of their butt, and that becomes a very big headache, So,
given what just that observation, and seeing the dedication out there, and I know sometimes when we are on the scene, we see guys that were on the scene right before us, and then we see them a little later. And I remember one Friday night. It was one of them busy nights. It was one of the nights we had a shooting. I think it was on Jackson Street and turn around right over here off of Dallas. And it was the same detectives that were on the scene before. And I think there were some things in between that they had to attend to as well. And you could just see the fatigue, the tiredness, and all of that stuff that don't, and it when you're sitting back and you're thinking about it, them long hours, overnight and different things. There's something to think about.
And a lot of guys think when you move to investigations that you get a cushiony job. But if you're doing investigations and you're working as a detective, it's a stressful job, and you're working all the time. You're never off. I mean, your phone is going off 24/7, whether it's from the DA's office, somebody at the administration wanting to know something because it's a major case. It's just, those guys deal with a lot, man. And they do have high solve rates. They do. And I commend all of them for the hard work that they do. So, yeah.
So how much does respect or like of it impact daily interactions between police and the community? Do you?
When I was still there working on the road and stuff, I didn't see any negativity. I mean, besides the regular. When we pull up on a scene, nobody wants us there to begin with, because they're either fighting or they're arguing or, and when we pull up there, they all want to get it said, and everybody's trying to talk over each other all the time and everything. So it gets very frustrating as the officer just to tell people, y'all go stand over there. I'll talk to y'all in a minute. Let me finish with this, and the officers handle that very well. And, we're trained to do that. And those guys do that. I guess I'm really saying is, I think those aspects of the job are fine. Now you have police staffing shortages, and APD runs off of overtime. So
we're gonna take a deep dive into some of the shortages a little bit later on as we're moving through here.
Go ahead.
When you and I were talking, civility was one of them things that you really wanted to, we wanted to kick it off and cover it. From your experience, you mentioned, in the introduction, that things were a little different when you started back in 2000 compared to now. So from your experience, have civility declined over the years?
Between the officers and the administration, yes. Yes, it has. It's civility, and it's not. It's so much that is the way you're talked to, the way you're treated. It's how they lead. You were in the military. You know how to be a leader, Jack.
Right.
We all went to our E4 schools. I mean, that's when you finally stepped up to that rank where you're going to have some guys under you,
Right.
So, and you learned that you've got to be fair, and you've got to be, you got to be fair about it all, and everything, and try to do that. And That does not happen over there. You know, it is all about the good old boy club. If you're in the clique, you're in the clique. If you're not, you're just out there, man. So you're on your own. You're an island, you know. And Roy breeds that atmosphere in that department. He breeds it through the men and women, through, you know, trying to make deals with the unions, trying to get his time and everything. So he's trying to play politics with them. Of course, they're never going to get a raise as long as Roy's in power. They're never going to get anything. You know, they'd like to brag about, you know, oh, we gave them all take-home cars and all this and everything else. We used to have those before all this, and you took them away. Roy took them away, you know. Then now he wants to come back and give them back to us, you know. Oh, I'm here, you know, Hall was a horrible mayor. Roy's here to save the day, y'all. We all heard the campaign slogan, you know. And he came in there, and all he changed was he minimized civil service. You can't get promoted unless you go up the hill and tell everybody up there that you're going to back them for the rest of your life. You got to go take your blood oath, you know? And that was my frustration with the administration. I grew up with a lot of guys, come up in the ranks with a lot of those guys. When I got there, pretty much every one of them was just a patrolman just like me, or a PFC at most, you know? So we were all equals. So now they have let the politics from the mayor's office control the entire police department. It's gossip city, you know. It's gossip city every day. Here's a typical day in detectives. Go through a day. You get to work, you get your assignments from the night before. You still got all your other stuff that's in the back that you had over the days. You get done with that, get out of roll call. The little clique goes back there. They have a meeting for about 2 hours. Then they go to lunch about, I don't know, 10:30, 11. Then they come around about 3 o'clock wanting to do a search warrant so they can get some overtime, you know? And everybody expects you to drop everything and follow them out the door, you know? And that's how it worked. And they're not going to like that I just said that, and they're going to freak out. But that is a typical day in the life of an APD detective. You know, now if there's a homicide, it's all hands on deck. If there's a major rape, hot case, it's hands on deck. You know, they're going to take care of business. But the other amount of time, they're not. They're just going to sit there and gossip. When I was first in detectives, our captains and our lieutenants would get so mad at us for hanging out up there. You're hanging out up here too much. Get out of here, ride the street, do this, or go over there and do your case files and get that done. You know, that's what supervisors did. They didn't let you just sit in the office and gossip all day long. And that's what that detective division became. And it has become that for a long time now. And so after that, you know, they got me out of detectives because I wouldn't play their little clique game. So they got me out and put me on the road. I was fine. I was happy. Leave me alone, you know. And then just the hypocrisy just continued and continued, Jack. And I couldn't take it no more.
Right.
You know, so I didn't want to retire at 25 years, you know. I originally hoped I could get a 5-year drop. I mean, that's almost $400,000 in my pocket. I gave that up because I needed my sanity, you know.
Wow.
You know, and then I'm never going to get promoted because I'm not part of the clique, you know. They'd already did away with all that. So you're not going to get promoted from sergeant to lieutenant ever. And, you know, I understand the original concept came into play under Lauren Lampert when he became chief. He wanted a deputy chief. And he just wanted one man to help him implement his administrational goals, if you will, Jack, you know?
Right.
Well, now it's morphed into, I don't know how many deputy chiefs they have now. And then a commissioner too on top of that. When Roy was chief, we didn't have a commissioner. You know, so when you have all these people, these underlings out there, and every one of them tells you a different story, nobody knows who the chief is anymore. You know, because if you go to Deputy Chief Bradley, he tells you one thing. Go to Deputy Chief Cooper, he tells you another thing. You come over here and he tells you another thing. Nobody is on the same page half the time and I'm talking about like on hot incidences. You know, when you get on the incident and you're on a hot incident, your first priority is you got to send out the major, as a line supervisor, you got to send out the major alert to all the administration, the chief, everybody. And it's, you know, there's been a shooting over here. These are the injuries, yada, yada, yada. We're calling out detectives. Call if you need more information. And then from there, they typically get with the detectives and work with the detectives on what's going on. But it can get so frustrating because you got 5 people calling you. You know, you got the chief calling you. You got Deputy Commissioner Van Dyke calling you. You got Commissioner Bradley calling you. Look, y'all, I'm trying to hold the scene, hold the crime scene. You know, so y'all go in your little. You got your email. Go figure it out yourself. Y'all supposed to be cops,
Right.
So yeah, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for that comment too.
Just join the team right now. That's all I can tell you. We'll probably get in trouble for having this interview.
Look, man, and somebody said that to me today. You know, they heard them arguing about me and everything, and somebody brought up and said and looked at him and said, "Is he lying?" Well, no. It's just the way he's saying it. He's saying it bad.
Let me. Wow.
That's the deal. They want to control the narrative to flip it to where they're all seen in a positive light. If you don't give them the positive light, they're going to get upset with you. You know.
Right.
So,
go ahead, controlling the narrative. Yeah, controlling the narrative seems to be something that's consistent just across the board.
I mean, how many times did Roy do an interview on why he vetoed something? My God, Roy, really? You vetoed it. We know it. Yeah. If Donald Trump vetoes something, he does one speech. Roy vetoes it. He gives you 15. He gives you 15 speeches on why he did it. Come on now, dude. Really, man, get over yourself.
You spent years on the force.
Yeah.
What does true community policing? We're going to go to community policing for a second. What does true community policing actually mean beyond the public?
Okay, so I was in the Weed and Seed program, okay? And so we originally started out, it was a grant program, and it started out, it was only the Sonia quarters. Because at that incident in time, the Sonia quarters was like the hottest part in town. Okay. So we went in there and we had a little office over there at the what is it? The building down there? The recreation center.
Yeah,
the Martin Center.
Yeah, Martin Community Center. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in there, and then we worked with the public. We went to public meetings. We went to the schools, ate lunches with the kids. We went to the high schools, talked to the SROs, and kind of got in with the kids there with them, and did all that. You know, Kevin Kitchen loved to do that, man. If you want a lesson on community policing, call Kevin Kitchen. So, and I think he's an alderman out here in Woodworth or whatever. Okay. But that's what it typically looks like. And then we went to our meetings, and if Miss whatever says, I got a problem with my neighbors, they just moved in, they're loud all night long, they're doing this, they're doing that, and periodically in the Weed and Seed program, we would stay over late and go and take care of problems like that. Or we would just go and take our report and park in front of that problem house and just write our report.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually those people start to move around. I don't even have to get out of the car, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, well, nowadays in the new policing, that's not going to deter people as much anymore because they want confrontation with the cops. They want a confrontation, you know, the bad apples out there, you know, they want to instigate. They want to incite the crowd. They want to make it bigger than what it is, if you know what I mean. You know,
Right.
they want to move strictly to all officers are racist now, you know,
Right.
and
Right.
that does a horrible morale on every officer at APD, you know, because I'm gonna tell you right now, very few officers in my mind could I tell you that were actually racist. Like maybe 3 in 25 years, you know, because you got to think about it, Jack. The people we're helping 90% of the time are not the white people on the other side of Masonic or other side of MacArthur Drive. We're in the black neighborhoods helping the black people. You know, we don't have time to be racist because that's all that's over there, you know, is those people, that demographic, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that makes sense to you or whatever, but it was different, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see prejudice at that police department. I don't think that's a problem, you know. I don't think there's a prejudice at the city hall, you know. I think they just, well, honestly, I think Roy's just stupid. So I mean, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I think he wants his finger in everything, and he has to control everything and micromanage everything to a certain degree. Because I can remember I went out on a call one night, and somewhere along the line, I forgot to send out the massive email, or this was right before they started doing that, you know, and it was all told to everybody that Roy chewed Van Dyke out, Van Dyke chewed Chad out, Chad chewed Bradley out, everybody chewed everybody out because, and then it all come back down to blaming the guys on the road because nobody told them, you know, and it was, you know, and it's just, and then they started the major incident report thing, you know. So they have to know everything, you know, because they want to get out ahead of it and control the narrative from the beginning, you know.
You know, I want to ask you that because you know our sources would constantly tell us that information was available. You know, just standard things that media normally request of you guys. I know when Lieutenant Wyndham, now Sheriff Wyndham, was the PIO. I had an opportunity to work a whole lot with Lane and had a good working relation with him, and we could get details
And
about what was going
and
on.
and as bad of a mayor as Hall was, Hall let Lane do his job, you know. Hall
Yeah,
let Lane be the PIO, you know.
right, right,
He didn't have to have his finger on it, you know.
right. I never,
So
you know, and you know, and just to, you know, just so that I'm clear, you know, under Lieutenant Wyndham, we never had you know, an issue, and he was really good with those media organizations that followed what you guys were doing. He made sure, and it was kind of like, you know, the foot was put on the, you know, on the brake a
yeah.
couple of years, about 3 years ago, and it was like nothing else coming out of APD, and
Well,
you know, and it was frustrating because you know we're out trying to make sure that the public is aware of what's going on, and the idea that we had no one we could reach out to, and we see, you know, and it was so odd because reach out to Pineville, reach out to the sheriff department or any of the little smaller departments, you know, in our footprint
yeah.
and outside of our footprint, and we get answers quick. But you know, right here at home, we got nothing, and
Yeah.
you know, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Jack, what's the big deal if you pull up on, um, pull up on the scene and I'm there.
Right.
I think I've talked to you before when you were there and you
Mhm.
pulled up. I said, look, Jack, this is what's going on.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't want you to go stress out about all this, you know, because it's really not that big of a deal, you know, and I'll let you know, you know.
Right.
You know, I mean, but if it was something, I'd tell you, look, man, you probably need, you know, we had a shooting, Jack.
Mhm.
That's pretty
No
clear.
doubt.
You go talk
Yeah.
to the people that are screaming behind me right now. My baby's dead. And
Yeah.
there's, we got a dead body over there, Jack. You
Right.
know, why can't I tell you that, Jack? I mean, everybody else there is telling you. Why can't I turn around and just say, yes, sir, we had a shooting. And right now, the gentleman is on the way to the hospital. We know no further. All we know of is this at this time.
Right.
We have no active shooter information to follow up on right now.
Mhm.
What would be the problem of a shift lieutenant saying that to you out there?
Well, look, actually,
The people would feel a sense of urgency just got taken care of, wouldn't they?
oh,
I'm
absolutely.
playing.
Because I tell you, the very first time that Chief Grimion did that while we were on a scene out in AKA Cars Park, and he came in, gave a quick update, and made the statement that there was no threat to public safety and things of that nature. The
Wasn't
comments,
that the homicide and I was
Mhm.
there. I was there.
Yeah, yeah. And when that happened, the public was overwhelmingly.
I was
Uh,
actually the acting shift lieutenant that day.
oh, okay.
I know
Look,
exactly what you're talking about, man.
yeah, and so the idea that he gave the update, the public, uh, was real receptive of it. They clearly see it wasn't an issue, and man, in less than a week, we were in a city council meeting. And you could just tell by the comments that our main leader made to the chief of police. You shouldn't have even, he said words to the effect, and I'm pretty sure, so I'm gonna say words to the effect that you probably didn't need to have that discussion with them while you were out there. And that's such a basic thing to get a public. There's no threat to the public safety, and the idea
Yeah.
that we don't get that was just you know it just blows my mind, because I'm not getting that same type of feedback from other organizations.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm sorry, Jack.
uh-huh.
It's only frustrating, and and it's a learning curve for them too at the same time,
Mhm.
because it's this media age, man. It's this Facebook age. People want information now, 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 now. People want that. You have to give them something.
So,
If it's just something simple,
right, right. And like I say, man, we wouldn't, we're not demanding. A lot of times you see these things about, oh, you want us to tell you your tactical operations. I'd be damned if I asked one of you guys that question. I mean, I wouldn't ask that question, because I
Number
understand.
one, even if they told you, you're not going to understand it. So, I mean, really,
Right.
Yeah,
So
because they're going to talk in all these words like this. We're going to hit the door in the back, and we're gonna pivot and shivot and pivot and move it and do all this other cool.
yeah. We
I
would.
mean, what, dude?
No, that's
I
that's
wouldn't understand it because I was never SWAT, so I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. No, we don't. We're not looking for that. Just the basic stuff. And when we compare other, just right up to Shreveport, and the idea, 911 logs are public, communications are clear.
Yeah,
The radio chatter is in the clear, and it's just a completely different world. And I get the 911 security stuff, but there are some basic things that the public need to be made aware of that we are not making them aware of here, and that's what's truly concerning. Um, we talked about community policing and that kind of
well,
stuff.
and everything you just talked about bleeds into community policing. You have
Right,
those
right,
folks,
right,
and,
right.
yeah. But go ahead.
And the crazy thing about it is that, you know, as I know when we're out in the field, those guys are doing what basic policing is telling them to do. And so, you know, a lot of times, you know, when the state had this new law coming up about the 25-foot, and people used to ask me, is that going to pose a problem to what y'all doing? You know, I don't think I ever had that issue with APD, you know, being, you know, because I'm standing behind the line, I'm still trying to figure out, you know, where I'm safe and that kind of thing. So
That's you know, and while I was there, we were never really big on that unless we were trying to break up a brawl. Because then at that point, it's like, man, y'all got to get away.
Mm-hmm.
There's 50 people surrounding 3 officers. Y'all got to back up. You know,
Right. Yeah, and that just makes sense. You know, that's as common.
exactly.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know,
We talked about the idea of knowing those officers and knowing the neighborhoods. Today, how can community policing work with such a shortage in the department?
it can't. It can't. Not with the numbers they're short right now.
Mm-hmm.
It can't. I mean, I think they still have a community policing division, which is actually turned into basically community policing / recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I think it's Lieutenant Joseph, I think still,
Mm-hmm.
and Lieutenant Briggs.
Right.
You know, Lieutenant Briggs kind of does the recruitment stuff and the academy,
Mm-hmm.
and then Lieutenant Joseph kind of does the community policing stuff. He just tries to keep in touch with the community leaders, but he is one man. He can't go to all the meetings, he
Right.
can't do all the things. I would ask, Ronnie Howard for a while there started going to the community meetings himself,
Mm-hmm.
and engaging with people.
Right.
And I really think a lot of that is just go talk to people. Don't talk over them and tell them what they're supposed to think or what they're doing. Listen to their problems and see if you can help them find a solution. And it may
Mm-hmm.
not always be a police solution. you
Right.
know
Right.
it may be a two neighbors arguing over a property line.
Right.
But guess what? I can handle at that community meeting. I can have them 2 people there and I can settle it right then and there with them. You
Right.
two need to go get a civil court.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Stop fighting each other. So
I definitely see where, that idea of community policing could be a great asset. But and I do understand what you're saying with the staffing shortage right now. Because
all they're doing
knowing,
all
yeah,
they're doing is running call to call.
right,
They go one call, and then they go to another. And if they ever have a downtime, they try to eat lunch and go to the bathroom, dude.
yeah,
I mean,
right.
and get a cup of
But
coffee.
they do, between Lieutenant Joseph and Lieutenant Briggs, they do have 2 guys that do understand and can talk to the public. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Very
A
good
very
guys.
good, very good at being able to communicate with the
And
public.
that's why
That's
they're in the positions they're in, because they are some of the best at that.
yeah, they are. They are.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's talk about the morale a little bit. How does morale inside the police department affect
function.
performance in the street?
Okay, so when I first started, we were in the Sicardo, and I never heard a problem from City Hall as a police officer. I was young, but only things we griped about was Chief Sicardo telling us to do it this way. He wanted us to write a report on everything. I remember
Uh-huh.
having to write a report on a lady thought she had a prowler out of the house, and it was a possum hanging in a tree in her backyard, and I had to write a report on that. And I was madder than the devil, son. And it was my line sergeant, Daryl Terry, who told me I had to write it. I said, man, this is so stupid. I'm writing a report on a possum, you know. So it was small things like that, man. But we would go out just in the nighttime in the young when I was young, and we'd chase them and we'd catch them, and the the drug dealers, the burglars, everything. It wasn't nothing for you to go out and arrest 10, 15 people a night, by yourself,
Right.
and then you had, at that time, we had it was almost 16 officers on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're working with 9, but most of the nights it's only 5, is from what I understand. And then and to take off, you got to, and the way they're getting around it is you got 5 officers on the street, and then you got 3 sergeants. So you got a total of 8 officers out there,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
Sergeants don't have transport cages. They don't have this. They don't have that. So sergeant goes and takes a call, makes an arrest. He's got to pull another line unit over there to him to transport for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it still slows the system down, and they have got to figure out how they're going to recruit officers. And the first thing they can do is probably give them a pay raise and stop building pickle courts or pickleball courts, whatever the thing you're talking about, So, because I don't think anybody on 11th Street is going to go find time to play pickleball, I mean, it's just crazy, man. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, bud.
Well, no, this thing with the morale though, because when you look at the idea that
That's been a thing that's been going on for 20 years, though. Okay,
but not at this level, though, right?
Well, because we were never this short, Jack.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right.
And Roy played a game after Chief Cootie. After Chief Cootie, then he brings in Tully. Okay. Well, first off, there was the blue flu after Chief Cootie left, because everybody was upset and they were about to make Moore the chief or something, and they were afraid they were going to make Gary Moore the chief. So everybody got freaked out. They did a blue flu. And then the first thing they did was try to fire everybody that got caught out on the blue flu. I wasn't one of the ones that got to stay home. I was working the road the night before and just got held over, So then it became the officers against the administration sometimes, not too, but then we lost a bunch of officers because they wanted to go to the sheriff's office because the sheriff's office got that big raise. So we lost a good bit then, but we quickly replaced a lot of them, and then we got our own big raise. But the first time, this is how I noticed what type of leader Jock is, okay? He comes in there and he comes and talks to the union and tells us, hey, buddy, we're gonna pass this public safety tax. Okay, Jock, that's great. And y'all write it up for me. So, I mean, all the head union guys, I think Daryl Terry at the time, all the other older guys like Farrell Gaspard, Tony Bedivy, a bunch of older guys got together and wrote it up, right? And the sales tax was supposed to strictly go to, it was like a 2% sales tax that was going to go strictly to the department and to the fire department, APD and the fire department. It's a public safety tax. Well, Roy really didn't like that idea, but we still put it on the ballot. It got voted down. Okay, it didn't pass. Roy said, "Told you so," and then he added in the entire city. Okay, which kind of made a lot of us mad. Okay, I understand you're city employees and you do a service too, and you need a raise, but you have a separate union than us. And all this other stuff and avenues to get your own raises. Here we are trying to get something for us, and now you got to jump on it. And then now all the money goes into the general fund. So not all the money goes where it's supposed to go, you know. And Roy will tell you tomorrow that that's all BS and that, you know, and he spent god awful amounts of money on the department and all this other stuff. And so we'll wait to hear that tomorrow, I guess.
Well, you know, when I talk about this thing called morale, you know, the idea that, you know, you hear a lot of justification that the reason why we are short the officers is because, you know, there's a shortage nationwide. However, when you look at the local organizations here locally, you look at
They're not.
they're not. And so you're trying to figure out why is it that just the, you know, Alexandria Police Department,
And
why is
Alexandria is the only one doing a sign-in bonus.
Right.
And they got the highest pay rate. People are leaving APD taking pay cuts, going to other departments, taking pay cuts because they just can't handle the politics of it all anymore. You know?
Right.
And
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to say that people are, you know, when you look at these smaller departments and they're almost at 100% man,
yes.
you know, and they have less benefit, less pay, but you know, but people are going to them just for you know, a sense of.
Did something happen?
No. I was just getting ready. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Right.
Something broke up there.
Yeah, right. But you know, they go away just because, you know, they just need us. They need to be able to come home and wind down at the end of the day, and it appeared that they just can't do that over there at APD. Do you think, in your opinion, what leadership actions help morale? And in our case right now, from a leadership standpoint, what kind of actions could help the morale of the department? Because I think, you know, my military background is saying that I think you got a horrible a horrible morale over there. So if you could change something, could it improve something? Whereas when you walk away from the office at the day and you're talking to the next young man who might want a career in policing, he comes in and picks up the phone and call Officer Briggs or Officer Joseph about becoming a part of the force. What could leadership do to improve that right now?
To improve it right now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because they have driven the morale so low that anybody that's coming to work at APD, right? If you're a buddy of mine and you want to come work to APD, I'm gonna tell you don't do it, man. Go somewhere else, bro. You know, I've been here 18, 20 years. I'm stuck, man. You know, I still got to do my 5 years to get my retirement or whatever. I'm stuck right now, dude. But it's so political over here, I would tell you not to, man. You're not going to get promoted here. That'd be a good deal to do. You reenact the civil service rules and start promoting on civil service basis again, according to seniority and everything else, and using the system the way it was designed. Their whole reason of taking it out was they were saying they were getting a bunch of bad supervisors, right? Well, if you got a bunch of bad supervisors, why don't you write them up, demote them, and then promote the next guy? Why do you have to go change the whole system and ruin it, you know, for everybody? And just for a few bad apples, if you will, you know, because there's several people up there that are lieutenants right now that shouldn't be, you know. So
Alexandria is reportedly about 60 officers down. That's
well, that's
almost,
after they took 10 or 15 off the books a couple years ago.
okay. So
it's
you know,
really
the last
75.
75.
They
Wow.
took 10 or 15 off the books a few years ago and just erased them because they knew they would never get back up to those numbers. I think that actually happened under Hall because we were actually 50 short, and then he liked to say we were only 40 short. So he took 10 off the books.
Okay.
You know,
So that being said, that's
well,
roughly, because the last thing I saw was that there was approximately 150 slots, for line officer, and I might use the wrong terminology there,
no,
but
150 slots for officers. Period.
okay,
That's the whole
150,
department.
right? Okay, so 150 period, and we're approximately 60 down right now. That's a
The
third.
number used to be 161. We used to have 161,
Mm-hmm.
and that's during our heyday, whenever community policing was going big.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, you know, it was just like that. So we had 161. Now they say we're at 150, and that we're only 60 short. Well, we're actually 71 short or whatever.
Right.
So we're more closer to the numbers we had in 1980 something, or 75.
We said we were going to. What does that, from your perspective on an every day-to-day basis, what does that shortage mean
I can't
daily?
take off. I can't take off unless I can find somebody else from another shift to come in and do overtime and cover me. So it makes, you want to go on a trip with your wife. It makes it complicated sometimes, because the trip may have just now been decided, but you had other guys that planned to be off, and you're only got so many officers that are there. So they're always fighting to keep 9 on the road. They do their damnedest to do that. They
Mm-hmm.
try to call guys in or get guys to stay over. Just stay over 4 hours,
Mm-hmm.
just stay over 6 hours, and then go home, and then you can come back in the morning. That's how it goes, and it kills the morale because you don't have the freedoms that you would at a other department. I want
Mm-hmm.
to go take off for a weekend and go with my wife. Well, we've already had 3 others take off. You have to find somebody to replace you now, and that rarely happens. you know
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I said that the police department runs on overtime, because it does. you
Mm-hmm.
know
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to give them a raise. They just want to pay them overtime. And so a lot of the officers look at that as a raise,
Mm-hmm.
because they get however much overtime they want. You know,
Right. How being short staffed again?
that that'll burn you out doing all that. But yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. How does this impact response time right now? Because from time to time we hear, people talking about it took APD XYZ amount of time to make it here. Is this
From from my
shortage?
experience on the road, okay,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a hot call,
Mm-hmm.
like a domestic violence call, a shooting, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be sent out over the air immediately when the call comes in. And whoever's 10-8 are in service starts heading that way. Major calls are never ever at APD a bottom priority. Okay. Now, if you have 2 separate incidences, like if you have a homicide on this end of town and a shooting on this end of town that are not related, I just lost my entire shift. So now if I have a third incident happen, then things can get complicated, which has happened before.
Mm-hmm.
you know so those situations do arise, but that's how it works. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to give the impression to the public that if you're being shot at, we're not coming as fast as we can. We are. you know
Mm-hmm.
and typically, if you hear another shooting happening while you're on the 2 separate ones at this time, as many people as possible are jumping back in their car and going 10-8 and heading that way. So it it doesn't affect the seriousness of crimes. But while all that's going on, all your burglary reports and all your, uh, you know, my baby daddy won't bring me back my wallet, thing or something, you know, all that's going to be put on hold until we can catch back up, you know.
Right.
So that that can happen. But priority calls are priority calls. I won't let the public diss APD for that. Now, if there was a reason that a response time got delayed on the shooting or something like that, major, there's probably a logical explanation, you know.
Right.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Now, you and I talked a little bit about Project 50, which was described as
Yeah, I heard the mayor bring that up the other day.
yeah. Talk to us a little bit about what that is.
So Project 50 was we would go and it was brought up in the DA's office while Lauren Lampert was still there. I was a detective at the time in violent crimes, and the way it was pitched to us was, let's pick out the 50th worst people in Rapides Parish, and let's target them with narcotics or with whatever means we need to get them off the street, you know. Because a lot of them, you know, if you've been arrested several times and you've made the 50 list, you are probably some kind of drug dealer or drug addict or a plain old butthole, I guess.
Right.
You know, for lack of better terms. You know, so that was really it. Now, Roy said something about revamping it. I'd love to hear what he wants to do to revamp it. Because when I worked at the FBI task force, we had something similar that we worked under, but we had a sheet that we had to fill out in our report that this case, this dope dealer, whoever we're chasing, has a connection to violent crime. We can't just go after you because you're a dope dealer. We got to go after you because you're a dope dealer that's selling dope to gangs that are shooting at people and causing violent crime, you know? And so, or robbing people or doing whatever your little gang wants to do that day. And so there's a lot of things that can be done for that. And I'm not in disagreement with Roy on that, because that'll be in conjunction with the DA's office. But,
Right.
you know, that's a whole nother set.
But participating with some type of a program like that, you know, you know, how do you finagle that in right now with
You
such
don't.
a staffing shortage that you guys have?
You don't. You pray and work the guys to death to do it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, so it is what it is, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and I hate it for those guys that are there because, you know, that's kind of like the running joke that goes on. Help's on the way. I mean, that's said just about every morning in roll call, every evening in roll call. Yeah, Chief said help's on the way, you know. Well, we
Yeah.
got one hired in the academy now, you know.
Let me ask you this question. What role can the public play in making policing more effective today? You know, and here and I want you to think about this one, because, you know, like a lot of times I'll see leadership within the department will say that the public is not sharing information with officers, and I find that sometimes not to be because I know I move the camera away sometimes when I see, you know, detectives and officers out there talking with people while they are on the scene. So, what role can residents play in making, you know, given the fact that
You know, it pretty much comes back to the old saying, man. You see something, say something. You know,
Mhm,
you can call in the hotlines,
mhm,
develop yourself a relationship with a police officer that you know on the street, you know,
mhm,
somebody you knew growing up with, you know,
mhm, mhm,
and start running it through them. If you don't want your identity known and things like that, you know. But a lot
mhm,
of times, what I think it was Commissioner Van Dyke was talking about.
mhm,
I think what he was trying to say was that it's time for you to step up and testify against these guys. It's time for you to stand up and say, yes, I saw that shooting. Yes, I saw him kill that man. Yes, I saw him beat the devil out of that man. Yes, I saw that man, but at the same time, you have to go and you have to do a deal with the DA's office, because if you've got solid evidence that this guy's been pointed out by separate witnesses, then he should get a little bit of higher bond than the little typical numbers they like to use up there, and because that's the only way you're going to protect the public. And once you show the public you can protect them, they will help you, and that's how I know Shakola so good, that's how she knows Carla so good. We drive around, see her. Shakola come talk to us every day. If you didn't talk to Shakola, she'd scream at you to come talk to her. Just a great girl. So I mean, and there's other people like that out there too, and use those people. Use those people to get your message out and to show that. And I mean, this whole city's what, 45,000?
Right.
100,000 with considering the whole parish. That is not big enough. Everybody is related to everybody. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody, and that's how your crime rates, your murder rates are so highly solved, is because that's somebody's cousin that they know or something, and through process of two people, everybody knows each other in this town, Yeah.
So, and I don't think this is the, I wouldn't say that there are no problems within the department per se, but even moving forward, and it's always an opportunity to make that relationship with the public and the department, one where there's tons of mutual respect between. How do you think the citizens can hold the department accountable while still supporting the good officers? So, when we do run,
talking about if they see a bad officer doing something wrong,
right.
Yeah. Well, that's totally understandable. And if that's true, then any police officer worth his salt that took his oath and meant it understands that officer messed up, and that's that officer's problem, and that's not on the fault of that person. Now, is there misunderstanding sometimes and people misjudge situations? Of course. That's why we have court systems to work stuff out, and I think that's how it should go. I should have the same rights as the criminal. The officer should have the same rights as the criminal, and vice versa. Yeah, you started filming when I punched him in the head. I mean, okay, well, what happened 30 seconds before that? Were you there? Did you see what happened? Are you going to tell me about that? Don't just show me that one little glimpse. I need to see the whole picture. And now we have officers with body cams.
Right.
They have them things. It's in rules and regs. Several people have gotten in trouble several times because their body camera wasn't on an incident or something, because the battery went dead or something, And so the trust can be there if we can engage with the people.
Right.
You have to, people have to talk like me and you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
A cop has to go to a community meeting and talk to the people, explain to the people, I'm here to help, and do that,
Right. Take a look at this one. We used to scream at you, but you still took us to jail. They made fun of us and said you was out mama. As we needed some discipline. Yeah, you was cool though.
Shakola.
Yeah.
Shakola, I love that girl. Yeah, her mama though. Her mama know. I'm a little wild one. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I'm,
but it was respect
on me.
Yeah. But when somebody respects you, and you might not be doing the thing that they want you to do at the time, but they respect you. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and when they but that's because you had to develop that rapport. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, they have to know your name. They have to know
mm-hmm,
your name,
mm-hmm,
and that's what puts the name behind the badge, and it makes you respect the badge because you respect the man behind it.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's how the system should work. Um, and I typically I believe that's how most officers do work.
Mm-hmm.
But you have this day and age. I mean, a lot of these kids are just not social. They don't know how to talk to people. These new
That's right.
youngsters coming up on both ends of this argument we're talking
Right.
about.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because
They don't know how to communicate either.
no.
Nobody knows how to communicate. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. That's a very true statement. I tell you, what I know we didn't talk about over in APD. We need officers, though. We
yes,
need we need them. The guys are working way too much overtime. They need some personal time with their families. What would you tell a young person considering a career in law enforcement? Um, you
just
know,
um, try to stay out of the gossip.
mm-hmm,
Once you get caught in the gossip mill,
mm-hmm,
then the gossipers will gossip about you,
mm-hmm,
and they will twist what you're doing because they want to be the biggest. They want to be the biggest, baddest clique there. So try to stay out of that mess and stay away from people like that.
yeah,
And just surround yourself with other good cops, man, and
mm-hmm,
stay out of the drama, dude.
mm-hmm,
You know, and I mean, and our administration at APD currently tries to say that all the time,
mm-hmm,
but I guess because it has been so long that Roy took a little bit of power, a little bit of power, a little bit of power from the police department and gave it to himself. Did I tell you the story about how he pulled me off a shooting one night to go find a gas can?
mm-hmm,
So this around Roy's first term or whatever, man. Me and Robert DeStaffner were out there. I got a call of two groups shooting at each other. They didn't hit each other, but they hit a little girl who's about 10 in the leg, and she got took to the hospital. But they were all out there, about 5 or 6 of them shooting at each other.
mm-hmm.
I'm out there trying to find them because I actually had names, running them down or whatever. And I'm in the middle of doing all that, writing the search warrant stuff. I get a phone call from, or Robert got a phone call from Chief A telling us that we needed to go find the mayor's friend's gas can. So some kids joyriding took the mayor's neighbor's gas can and filled their truck up with $5 worth of gas and went on about joyriding, but they had the tag to the car. I said, well, I'm in the middle of typing search warrants and arrest warrants right now. Can this wait till Monday? No, you got to do it now. Mayor wants it done now. So I had to stop all that, go drive over to some juvenile's house, pick up the gas can, and tell his mama to go to juvenile court, go see the juvenile detective Monday. There was nothing else I could do with it. It's a juvenile, took a gas can. Come on, man. And then I finally got back time to get back to my shooting. That's what I mean about politics needs to be taken out. I'm not here to serve the mayor's best friend. I'm here to serve Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
And those calls will come in order as I receive them. And so if your little buddy had a gas can, he doesn't deserve a whole 2 crimes against persons detectives to go find his $5 worth of gas. I'm sorry, because that was still when gas cheap too. So, or wasn't that bad. So,
Wow. You talk about putting priorities in order. Well, I tell you that wow. All I can just say is wow on that one, David. If you could change one thing about policing in the Alexandria Police Department right now, what would it be?
Fairness with disciplinary on officers. It's all about fairness and taking each officer's, everything is separate. You judge just like you go to a court, you know, and do not jump the gun on firing them so fast just because because the public's demanding blood in the water. You know what I mean? So just do your investigation, slow down, and make sure you're doing the right thing. Because once you start messing up with disciplinary matters, you start losing the morale of the department because they lose the faith in the administration to be fair, you know? And then there's also incidences of workplace, lack of a better term, Jack, bullying. Some of them over there just cuss people like dogs all the time and nothing happens to them, you know? So, and then lo and behold, you act up one day after you've been acted up against 50 times, you act up one day, you get sent home. Why? This dude's been cutting up for 2 weeks, you know? And nothing happens to him. So, you know, it's that. When officers see that, and there's several examples of that, not just, you know, personal experiences, different officers get in trouble for the same thing and they're treated differently, you know, depending on if you're on the click or not, you know? So that would be my answer. Fairness with disciplinary matters would be very, very important.
And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I forgot my thought now, Jack. You don't confuse me.
I'm sorry. I apologize. What, you know, if you, because I mean, we've had a deep conversation here tonight, and you know, and what gives you hope when you look at the future of public safety in this city? Is there any hope right now? Because you know, one of the things that we see,
Van Dyke is listen at me. Van Dyke is a very strong leader. Okay, he could stand up to Roy. He could tell Roy, this is how Chad is going to run the police department. And everything is going to change from here on out. We're going to follow the rules and regulations that are in place. And we're going to do it right. And we're going to do it fair. No preferential treatments. None of this. Move people around. You know, you've got guys that are taking up dead space in detectives. They just sitting in the chair. You can move them down back to the road and move somebody else up there that never had that experience. You know, officers need to be well-rounded. If you go to detectives for a while and then you go back to the road, you are a better road officer now because you understand what a detective sees and what a detective wants from a case, you know? So it's different learning experiences, and you should move around a lot in your career. You should know every aspect. You should learn to write a search warrant. You should learn to do this. You should learn to do that, you know? Every officer up there should be able to do that, you know, and most of them can, you know, but the priorities are not set into that aspect, if you will. It's all about keeping the detectives the detectives. There is some specialized divisions in detectives that do calls for a large amount of experience, but there's others that do not. And you can always find your next shining star, you know, detective. If you do a little bit of, because that used to happen under Roy, and I mean, not under, well, it used to happen under Roy, you know, whenever he wasn't so involved. We would get moved around periodically. Some people would cry, I'm getting moved out of detectives, and they go back to the road. Like I always said, I came here working in a black and white. I'll leave here working in a black and white. It don't matter, you know, because you didn't join the police force to be a detective in a town like this. You may want to be a detective, but you may never get that chance, you know, because it's just too small sometimes, but they could do some things to make it seem, not, I hate to use the word seem, they could do some things to listen to the rank and file, you know, and give them some things, some small things, and stop coddling other people, you know.
So in essence, I'm hearing. So as if we talk tonight, I've heard if I just listening to you, I've kind of like came to the conclusion of micromanaging,
Yes, sir.
um, um, overly involved in guys who are subject matter experts in what they do,
Mhm.
um, and bringing influence in the political process into that process that just should be the standard of the day. You know what I mean? It is what you do. It's just automatically, and this is just what normal policing uh, does. It seems like there's a lot of interference into the department based upon what we've kind of talked about, and and some of that could be some of the anxiety that even the leaders are seeing coming from.
Well, on a young officer, it's constantly on his mind. Am I in the clique when I do screw up just a little bit? Because every police officer messes up, Jack. We're all
Mm-hmm.
human, and
Yeah, yeah.
all I can do is hope that your mess up didn't have somebody killed or injured or something like that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, more of your mess up. You may mess a report up. You may miss a piece of evidence. I hate that that happened, but you're a human and errors happen.
Right.
You know, so there's learning experiences and everything. And when you try to go hard on some things and go easy on other things, it just it doesn't work. It's
Yeah, that fairness kicks in, and people can really begin to see that level of fairness.
yes, sir.
Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they really need to get these supervisors at APD need to get these men to split up. And I was one of the ones doing it every day because once you get disgruntled, you're disgruntled, buddy.
You just
There ain't much gonna get taken out of you. You know, you're just you feel you feel the department was out against you. And
hmm
so once you feel that way, it's hard to get back the trust. So as much as the public needs to trust the police
hmm
need to trust City Hall. You
mm
understand what I'm saying?
hmm hmm
And there's no trust there, you know, from the rank and file. It's
Right.
only the ones that are in the clique that know they're okay. You know,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
rest of them are worried every day that they're going to screw up some kind of way and just get fired for the simplest thing. You know.
That's got to be a lot of stress on guys that are putting that uniform on a day-to-day basis, and and the idea that if there is a discipline, there is no consistency with discipline, and consistency coming from higher up. After having this conversation with you tonight, it's opened my eyes up a lot, and I pray and hope that it opened up folks' eyes out there that's listening to us, and hopefully that opening the eye up will cause some folk to pick up that phone and start making phone calls as to what's
Yes.
what's what's really
And
going on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dave.
and I wanted to just make the message be. Um, I think some people got confused with my messages on Facebook. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I was angry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is understandable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the message needs to be: how do we fix it? We know we're here. We've been here.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody up there knows we've been here for I don't know, 15 years now. This department's been on the downfall.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of you have been there during that downfall. You saw what tore this place apart. So why do you cater to the very man that continues to tear it apart? You know, I know you work for him and all that other stuff, and you have to do what you're told. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to stand up and do what's right, Jack.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
That's
Yeah,
why I'm
yeah.
here today. That's why I'm on this podcast, is to tell you the truth and to put it out there, man. And
Right.
if you ever have any other questions or anything, just holler at me, Jack. I guess I don't know if we're
Yeah.
ending it right now, but yeah, we've been on a
No,
while.
you know, hey, man, I don't want to keep you too long. We've been at it for you know, an hour and 15 minutes. I will say this though, you know, like I say, my eyes are open. I know I'd already made some observations, just you know, the tiredness level and some of the officers, you know, there are quite a few people who retired and moved on, and they've made comments here and there, and just to hear you come out publicly and talk about it. Some of these guys are still, um, you know, in the policing environment, but have moved on to other agencies and different things of that nature. But you know, but it's one thing for the public to hear us, you and I, have this conversation and to say, you know, the things that you have shared with me tonight are the things that these other guys have been telling us, you know, all along.
And I want the public to know that the rank and file of the police department is there to protect you.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that the majority of that department is all of good heart and sound. It's a few bad apples
Uh-huh.
that have ruined the entire thing. And so we need to get the sour apples out, bro.
Yeah, it's evident. You know, I think the public see that. You know,
Yes.
overall that you know, over given the fact that for the length of time you guys have been grossly
Sure.
understaffed, you know, for the most part you have shown up, you know what I mean, and
Yes.
and I think the public really understand that and appreciate it. But I hopefully, you know, after this conversation, you know, and the thing I will say uh, to you and to the administration out there, if we've said something and you want to come clarify, you know, uh, a message to us, and you know, to have that conversation, to help to have a tough conversation about what's going on, you know,
Yeah, because they're
we're
going to say that we don't see the whole picture, and
oh,
I
of course,
understand that. I
right, right,
understand that, and I can only tell the administration from my perspective as the officer on the street. You know,
right, right, but
I can't tell you what the chief's perspective is or what
right.
anybody else's perspective is. You
We,
know,
we,
and they
we,
need to speak out and tell me.
right, and we can keep what if in it forever and a day, and we can keep talking about where you don't see everything that I'm seeing, and you don't see the holistic picture. The reality of it is, though, we see that we certainly got a problem,
Yes.
and we know that the conversations that we need to have are going to be tough conversation, and to just keep pushing and kicking the barrel down the road, we still get nowhere. And so at some point in time, we need to get in a room, pull our sleeves up, and start hashing these things out so we can move forward. Because, you know, we're going to only continue down this path, and that is losing more officers if we keep, you know, if we keep down this path. So we need to have that conversation. I know from a psychological standpoint, it's ego that's probably stopping some people, because to have this conversation
You
also
have to
means
humble yourself.
it also
And
means that
and and in
you
and in my anger, I humbled myself a lot, man. I reflected a lot of my mistakes. You know,
right,
I know some people saw my post. I admitted, you know, that I may be the bad guy in some of their stories. You know,
right, right, right,
and
right,
so, and if I did that to you, I'm sorry. You know,
right.
I guarantee you, if I was, it was because it was coming from a passionate feeling I had.
Mm-hmm.
And when I get passionate, I get mad, I get angry, and I say things I don't need to, you know?
Right.
So,
That's
but,
that's
but the
human.
best thing to do is to keep talking,
Keep
you
talking,
know?
man. Yeah, I really do. I think we what did they have with President Obama, that beer summit or whatever it was called? I think
Yeah,
we need
next
to have
time, can we do this at Huckleberry so we can drink a beer or two?
a
Yeah.
yeah. As long as we get us a designated driver, because we probably
My wife will drive us. Yeah.
okay. All right, that sounds like a winner. Just make sure we can. But that might be a very good venue to have this conversation. But at the end of the day, I think we all are looking for the same thing. And number
Yes, sir.
one, yeah, that's for to have a fully staffed department, a department where we can have tough conversations with people. We don't have to always see eye to eye with each other, but we can respect each other. You know what I mean? And that I think that's what the public is. Shakola just said, "You took me to jail. You're a bad guy," but laughing my ass off is what she said. But so she's paying attention to you the whole time here tonight, and
Yeah, I'm taking it to
yeah, but it's good that you can respect each other. So if that can happen, if you're talking about the community and you can have these conversations and you can laugh about it right now, we certainly should be able to have these conversations at a leadership and troop level and try to get this behind us. Because Houston, we got a problem. And if we
Amen.
keep on sitting here denying it, it's just going to, like I say, I think it's just going to continue to get better. But I think what I'm hearing from you saying over here, David, is that the troops want a better situation. Everybody's looking for, that opportunity to come to work and know I'm going to have a good day at work. I enjoy what I'm doing, and I'm going to go home without the fear of retaliation.
And look at it like this too. I don't want to put it all the blame on Roy. Roy can check his. Roy can go home right now and do a 180. You know what I mean? And call them all and say, "Look, I'm not going to get involved in y'all stuff anymore. Y'all go run that police department." Whoa, that would help a whole lot. Probably. I don't need the police commissioner to be next door to me. I need you to be down there solving problems at that PD. Because I'm sinking.
Right.
I don't need Daryl Bradley, Patrick Van Dyke, Ronnie Howard, and Wesley up there sitting beside me all day long as I figure out how to fry everybody.
Okay.
Y'all go be policemen. Go be cops.
Yeah, go be police. Yeah, right.
So
Look, man. I again, I might have to get you back on at a later time. But again, I want to reiterate to the administration or anyone else who have a different view. Let's have that talk. Let's sit down and start talking. And at some point in time, let's just all get together and have that conversation so that we can help move, our community forward.
Let's have beers with Jack. He's buying, y'all.
Yeah, man. Hey, if it can take some of that stress off of the officers that are out there, man, look, it's on me.
All right, buddy, man. I'm playing.
We're just
brother.
gonna have to get some designated drivers. That's all.
yeah.
David, I definitely want to thank you for your honesty tonight, your service to Alexandria, and for sharing your perspective with us tonight. Conversations like this one are how we move our community forward, not through slogans, but through understanding. Us sitting here and like I say, we don't always have to agree to understand. We can keep moving. To everyone watching and stuck with us for this, this hour and 24 minutes, tuning in, sharing the broadcast, and engaging with the comments. Just staying with us. We greatly appreciate that. And we definitely want to say to the community, stay informed, stay involved, and remember, civic engagement doesn't stop when the cameras turn off. You know, it keeps happening. We keep having these conversations. Before we go, we want to definitely send a big thank you out to our sponsors, our supporters. That's Sadler's Towing, Long's Products, Legendary Kung Fu and Tai Chi, United Wrestling Entertainment, Nader International Market, and the Threadhead Embroidery. We appreciate your continued support of local conversations that matter to us in our community. I'm Jack, and this has been Let's Talk here on UrbanCast 2 times in one night. I definitely want to say to everyone, stay safe, stay engaged, and stay involved. David, you want to say anything before
Oh, man, just have a good one, everybody, and God bless you.
All right.
And have a good Christmas. All right,
absolutely.
brother.
Hang in there, David. I'm going to end the stream. I'll be right back.
Sir.
All right.
Hey, did you know Long's Products is a family-owned janitorial supply with mops, brooms, trash bags, and they even have food service disposables, carry-out plates, and to-goes? Check us out.